Welcome back to Law and Crime Daily. Our next story takes place in a rural Oklahoma town. Last month, 7 bodies were found on the property of a convicted sex offender, including his own. This week, autopsy reports were released to the public. Authorities believe that 39-year-old Jesse McFadden shot and killed his wife, her 3 teenage children, and 2 of their teenage friends during a sleepover at his Henrietta property. McFadden then turned the gun on himself. Their bodies were discovered by police on May 1st, the same day he was supposed to stand trial for child pornography charges. He already served a 17-year sentence for raping a teenage girl in 2003 and was released from prison in 2020. McFadden reportedly told his mother the day before the murder-suicide that he, quote, was not going back to prison and that he decided to kill himself. Autopsy reports of the victims were released on Wednesday, and I warn you, they are disturbing. All 6 victims were shot in the head with arm and leg abrasions found on the suspect's wife, Holly, and her 3 children. Pathologists also noted that the 2 teenage friends at the property had blunt force injuries to their genital areas. Police and pathologists believe the teens were likely sexually assaulted. The mother of one of the teens is accusing the state of releasing her daughter's autopsy reports to the media before her family. Her attorney called the move by Oklahoma, quote, yet another example of the utter lack of sensitivity to victims and families of victims. Dina, when it comes to releasing the autopsy information, what rights do the families have at this point?
In terms of legal rights, not very much. Once there's a suspicion of somebody dying as a result of a crime, a family can't even prevent an autopsy from happening, never mind the results of them being public. But I think the family makes a very good point about sensitivity. You know, not everything should be legally required. I think this is an ethical, maybe moral requirement to at least have the decency to release the information to the family first, even if it's by 10 minutes. It's something they could have very easily done, even if legally they didn't have to.
Yeah, bring a little humanity and decency into the criminal justice system. Terry, do you think this horrific crime could have been prevented?
I don't know if it could have been prevented, but he was serving already for sexual assault almost 2 decades. And the purpose of putting people behind bars is not just to punish them, but hopefully to rehabilitate them as well. And you would hope that before they let him out, there's some sort of psychological evaluation to determine whether or not it's okay to put him back in the community. Clearly it was not. Clearly he told his mother that he wanted to kill himself. Now, granted, he did not say he wanted to kill others, but he sexually assaulted others. He killed his entire family and then himself. So this is one of those cases where you think maybe something should have been done.
Yeah, absolutely. And our thoughts and prayers goes out to those victims and those families. Welcome back to Law and Crime Daily. We caught up with the former football player acquitted of murder in Florida. Travis Rudolph says he wants to get back to playing professional football now that his legal struggle is over. Rudolph shot at men outside his home who had apparently come there to harm him at the suggestion of his now ex-girlfriend. A fight broke out in Rudolph's front yard in the middle of the night. Rudolph said he feared for his life and the life of his brother, so he got his gun from inside. He shot at the men and the SUV they were in. One man, Sebastian Jean-Jacques, was killed and another was injured. A judge ruled at an earlier hearing that Florida's stand your ground law didn't apply since the group of men were leaving. But the jury agreed with Rudolph that it was still self-defense. We asked him about the impact the trial had on his life over the past few years.
A lot of sleepless nights, a lot of crying, a lot of tears. I mean, it's a hard and upsetting feeling. You just knowing that you got accused of something that you didn't cause, you didn't start or anything. Like, just the fact that, like I said, just not knowing and just knowing what you're facing up against. Because if I was convicted, I would have been in prison for the rest of my life. Like, so all of us just really, it's a really upsetting feeling just knowing that you're faced up against that. We had a fair jury. We knew it going into it. We had probably one of the brightest and smartest group of people that I've ever picked as a jury. They really were all bright people. And I knew if Travis didn't win this case and he was convicted, he'll never get a better trial or a fairer jury. So race had nothing to do with it in this case, thank God, at all. He was clearly acting in self-defense, and
the wrong people were on trial here. They should not have had Travis sitting there. They should have had these other characters, including Dominique. They're responsible for Sebastian's death. But unfortunately, in this county, I don't have any power other than to represent Travis. If I did, I would have charged all the other people for many other crimes that they committed.
Let's talk about that. According to testimony given at trial and what police found in their investigation, ex-girlfriend Dominique Jones appears to have been the catalyst for the deadly situation. Jones, her brother Keshawn, and the man injured in the shooting, Taylor Robinson, all testified at trial. Jones had discovered Rudolph was cheating on her and texted Keshawn to come to Rudolph's home. 4 men showed up and a brawl started. Here's some of Dominique Jones's testimony about what started things and what her text to her brother really meant.
Did you delete anything at all from your phone prior to handing over your phone to law enforcement?
Yes, so once I realized Travis actually shot at them, I deleted the message where I said shoot his up, because now it looks ridiculous that this actually happened, and then I said that message.
And were you upfront with the fact that you had deleted messages when asked?
Yeah, I told her.
So you told the detective on the case?
Yeah.
Isn't the moral of the story is that you sent your brother and his friends to go kill Travis?
No, the moral of the story is him putting his hands on me. That is really the basis of everything. And I didn't send my brothers to kill him.
No, you just sent a text to go shoot up his right?
I didn't say shoot him.
You sent a text to go shoot up his right?
Correct.
Tell the jury what the is.
When you're angry, you say things. I'm sure everyone in this courtroom has said something when you're, I'm trying to speak. If you want me to answer your question, you have to let me answer your question.
Well, if you were responsive to my question, I wouldn't have.
All right. Answer the question, please.
Okay. Can you repeat your question?
The question was, what does mean in the context of that text?
Anything but him.
Terry, Dominique Jones, the ex-girlfriend, set the entire incident in motion. Do you think there should be charges filed against her?
Oh, definitely. I think they should charge her. She had the motive, the opportunity, the means. She did set everything in motion. She told her brother, go shoot him up. And frankly, that's exactly what he did. He took several of his friends. There were 4 of them, so it's 4 against 1. 2 of them had guns. She knew about that. And to send him and all these other individuals over there, I think she should definitely be charged with certainly conspiracy to either commit murder, absolutely assault or battery, conspiracy to do any of those things. So they have enough information. They should have gotten more information during the investigation, but they have enough right now to have those charges against her as the girlfriend for starting the whole incident.
Yeah, they probably could have got her with felony murder as well. Well, Dina, what about the 4 men that went to the house that night to confront Travis Rudolph? Should they be charged?
I mean, theoretically, yes, because in order for him to get an acquittal, he essentially, the prosecution wasn't able to disprove the fact that he wasn't the instigator and that he had a reasonable fear of imminent death. So that meant that the actions by the 4 men were severe enough to warrant some sort of indictment. Obviously, there's only 3 that have survived. The problem is if the prosecution does decide to charge them, the number one witness essentially for the defense will be the prosecution, because now they have this whole trial, all the statements that they've made, all the witnesses. They could essentially just call all the prosecution witnesses. It doesn't look good that the prosecution just tried to say that Travis committed murder, and now they're going to turn right around and say, oh, we were wrong.
I agree with you there. The prosecution probably has got a little bit of egg on their face if they go the other way, even though it might be the right thing to do. We're finishing today's show in Los Angeles as the saga of actor and convicted rapist Danny Masterson continues. While Masterson awaits sentencing this summer, his former legal team also found themselves in hot water this week. A Los Angeles Superior Court judge ordered sanctions against 2 of Masterson's attorneys on Wednesday. She says they sent discovery from the criminal case to a lawyer representing the Church of Scientology. That move violates a previous court order as well as a law protecting the personal information of victims. Last week, Masterson was convicted of raping 2 women at his Hollywood Hills home in the early 2000s. Those women and 2 additional accusers are suing Masterson and the Church of Scientology. They claim the church threatened them and told them not to report the abuse. The district attorney said in an email that the 570-page material material reportedly shared with the church includes the plaintiff's addresses and police correspondence. The defense apparently used the information to accuse prosecutors of soliciting false testimony to convict Masterson. The judge said that complaint was, quote, demonstrably false and ordered the two lawyers to pay $950 each in sanctions. Masterson faces up to 30 years in prison at his sentencing in August. Dina, do you think the $950 in sanctions set a strong enough message to the attorneys who shared this discovery?
Okay, great question, because that's exactly what I thought when I read that. Absolutely not. In Los Angeles, one hourly fee of $950 would not be unusual. So essentially the judge is maybe saying 1 hour of the lawyer's time they have to pay. Something like this that involves really serious privacy issues and a clear violation of the judge's order should have had thousands and thousands of dollars of a fine, not $950. I'm really surprised about the low amount here.
Yeah, I mean, and especially, I think that's average, the $950 an hourly. I feel like if you're representing Danny Masterson, I don't think you're getting paid $950 an hour, probably a little bit north of that. But Terry, if there had not been a court order prohibiting release of the information, could the attorneys have shared the information?
Absolutely. It does seem reprehensible, but they could have. Here there was a gag order. Here the judge did say you cannot share this information, so they violated that. The judge had to do something. I agree with Dina, $950 is not nearly enough. But what they need to do is to look at that information, regardless of whether or not there is a gag order. If it's confidential, if it's privileged, if it's proprietary, or if it's personal, you cannot share it, even if there is no gag order. And obviously here there was information that was personal. It was identifiable. They had names and addresses. So they clearly, even without that gag order, even without the court order, they violated the rights of those individuals to have that information shared. So I think the judge should have done more here. I think the attorney should have known better. And I do think they should have been penalized much higher than the $950 that they were penalized.
Yeah, I get it, it's punishment, but I don't feel like it's big enough of a punishment for me to think, well, they're not gonna do this again. But Dina, Terry, thank you very much. And thank you for joining us here on Law and Crime Daily. We'll see you next time as we discuss justice in America.